This year marks 22 years of marriage for my husband and me. Our son has started college and moved out, leaving just the two of us at home, and things are going relatively well. My husband has formed a baseball team with his coworkers and dedicates his weekends to practice from dawn until dusk. Meanwhile, I work part-time and enjoy attending yoga classes with my friends. We seem to be a couple fitting our age. However, one day, a yoga friend sent me a message while at the train station, asking if the man in the photo she sent was my husband. With reluctance, I looked at the picture and saw my husband hand in hand with another woman, which made my heart skip a beat. Could he be having an affair? He had left earlier claiming to attend a practice match, but now I questioned if that was true. "What are you planning to do? Will you confront him?" my friend inquired. After a moment of hesitation, I responded, "No, it's fine. I'll discuss it with my husband." I am hesitant to confront my husband. The thought of him cheating terrifies me. What actions should I take? I ponder whether I should consider divorce at our age and whether I can maintain a serene life if I choose to overlook his potential infidelity. Lost in these thoughts, I suddenly realized it was already 8 p.m. when my husband returned. He noticed the darkness and asked, "What's wrong? Why are all the lights off?" as he switched on the living room light, looking confused. "Oh, sorry, I must have dozed off," I evaded, and he just laughed, starting to wash his baseball practice clothes. This made me wonder if perhaps he truly had been at practice, and the photograph was a misunderstanding. "Did you go anywhere else today besides baseball practice?" I questioned. He replied nonchalantly, "Not really. I thought about getting those new shoes I wanted, but I haven't yet." The conversation stalled there. He appeared normal, prompting me to consider that maybe the photo was misidentified. Yet, each time he returned home late from supposed overtime or unexpected business trips, my suspicions would resurface. Troubling news seems relentless. One day, after leaving my part-time job, I received a call from my brother, whom I hadn't spoken to over the phone in years. He informed me that our father's health was declining rapidly. He had collapsed at work, was rushed to the hospital, and the prognosis was not good. This was a shock since our mother had died a few years prior, and despite being alone, my father had declined living with my brother and his wife, maintaining what seemed to be a healthy independence. Just last week, he sounded perfectly fine on the phone, so the news was unexpected. I assured my brother I would visit soon and hung up. That evening, when my husband returned from work and I shared the news about my father, his expression turned somber. "So, your father is unwell. Don't worry about anything here. Go see him," he advised gently, his encouragement giving me a small sense of comfort. The following day, I visited my father and suddenly became dizzy, unable to stand. "It must be aging." "Sorry to worry you," my typically chatty father said in a feeble voice. "Is there a problem? Have you and your husband had an argument?" he inquired, catching me off guard with a wry smile. "You're holding things in, just like your mother. We can't predict the future, so follow your instincts. Parents are happiest when they see their children happy," he advised, prompting me to reflect. Although I wished to continue our conversation, he expressed his fatigue, leading me to decide to depart for the day. Despite only spending around 20 minutes, witnessing his frailty moved me to tears. As I composed myself on a couch near my father's hospital room, a man in a white coat approached and sat beside me. "Are you visiting your father?" "I oversee his treatment," he initiated conversation. Quickly drying my eyes, I nodded. "It's understandable to be shocked. Do you have any questions?" he inquired. After he thoroughly and kindly clarified my father's health status and expectations, I felt significantly more at ease. A nurse then summoned him, and I seized the moment to phone the friend who had sent the incriminating photo. "I might have overstepped. I apologize if I upset you," I expressed. "No, I appreciate your honesty. It's time I confronted my husband's betrayal, though I'm unsure how to proceed," I confessed. She chuckled reassuringly. "Don't worry, my husband's a lawyer. I'll seek his counsel for you." I was comforted by her support, and even more so when she recommended a detective agency and offered to accompany me, considering my discomfort. In the subsequent days, amidst visits to my father and part-time work, I grew more anxious as my husband's claims of increased work commitments and unexpected trips intensified. I eagerly awaited the detective's findings. 3 weeks later, they reported with undeniable clarity. Though hard to articulate, their evidence allowed me to face the truth without panic. In fact, a strange relief washed over me as I reviewed the photographs, detailed explanations of his recent activities, and listened to the recorded conversations. It was devastating to learn that his so-called baseball practices were mere fronts, occurring only once a week for 3 hours, after which he spent the remainder of his time with his mistress, often waiting at a cafe close to the baseball field. His supposed overtime and business trips were fabrications. Every instance was an opportunity for him to be with her. The most harrowing revelation was that my husband had been planning a future with his mistress, contingent upon receiving an inheritance. As soon as I receive the inheritance from the death of my father-in-law, I'll file for divorce immediately. He's unlikely to survive another month, so we should book a high-rise apartment near the train station now. The recent surge in his activities was actually him setting up our new residence, organizing furniture and appliances. Additionally, he had planned a trip before our supposed marriage next month, a revelation that left me reeling. The idea of my husband eagerly awaiting my father's death deeply wounded me, extinguishing any remaining fondness I had for him. I was neither sad nor emotional. I simply desired a swift divorce. After investing a significant amount in the detective agency, I safeguarded all the evidence at a friend's place. Subsequently, that friend connected me with an attorney. Having exhausted my funds on the investigative services, I was reluctant to deplete our joint finances, fearing it might adversely affect the outcome of the divorce. However, after overcoming my hesitation, I reached out to my brother, who reproached me for not seeking his advice sooner but agreed to cover the legal expenses. I also discussed the potential of transitioning to a contract or full-time role with my employer, who consented to a contract position, thus providing me with some financial security. The pressing matter was confronting my husband regarding the divorce. Then, in the middle of the night, my brother informed me of our father's demise. Awakening my husband, we proceeded to the hospital together. He paid a brief visit to my father, offering his condolences to my brother and his spouse, before suggesting I take my time and leaving on his own. Subsequent funeral arrangements and family meetings left no room for personal grief, with my brother and his wife also worn out, and my husband providing no support. To add insult to injury, he opted to play baseball immediately following my father's death, a move even my brother and his wife criticized silently, respecting my decision to end the marriage. Amidst the chaos, the divorce was momentarily postponed. The situation intensified 6 months later, once all matters concerning my father were settled, and the inheritance was confirmed. My husband inquired, "Has your father's inheritance been processed yet?" I responded, "It's due tomorrow, but why do you ask?" His curiosity piqued, especially when he learned the inheritance amounted to roughly $800,000, a sum that surprised him given my father's executive status. "Everything's arranged for the transfer tomorrow. Let's celebrate with a nice meal," I suggested, masking my true intentions with a smile. Following his departure for work the next day, I left my bank card and its PIN on the desk before leaving for my job. Upon my return, as anticipated, the card and PIN were missing, but a divorce notice had been left in their place. Surprised by the ease of the unfolding events, I visited my lawyer to discuss the next steps and moved out, relocating to my parents' place where I had already transferred most of my belongings. Decisions regarding the distribution of our mutual possessions would be made later. As far as I was concerned, my ex-husband and the woman he had an affair with could stay in the house. I had already filed for divorce and resolved never to reach out to him again. However, 3 days post-divorce filing, my ex-husband phoned, perplexed and inquiring why there was no money in the account, questioning the whereabouts of the inheritance and my location. I feigned ignorance, stating that the inheritance was exclusively mine and questioning why he would access it. He seemed to be at our former residence, prompting me to urgently contact my attorney. He questioned the absence of the $800,000 from my bank account during the call. I countered, asking if he had taken my bank card as I intended to use it for redirecting my salary deposits. He angrily insisted that the funds should be considered joint assets. I firmly responded that the inheritance was my personal property, not communal, and reminded him of our dissolved marriage status, asserting that there was no need for further contact and that he could continue living with his new partner. I ended the call, bid him farewell, and immediately briefed my lawyer on the situation. In the days that followed, I ignored his continuous attempts to reach out, feeling a sense of relief for the first time after enduring prolonged hardships. Reviewing his plentiful texts revealed his grievances about the division of assets and pleas for reconciliation, all of which I dismissed as I departed for work, equipped with a new phone for future use. Eventually, my attorney informed me of my ex-husband's urgent request for a meeting. Agreeing to face him directly, I insisted the meeting occur in a public setting. He arrived on time, accompanied by his mistress, whom I saw in person for the first time, a young, casually dressed woman, 28 years old, working in retail, as revealed by the investigation. Confronted with the situation, my ex-husband seemed bewildered as my lawyer, and I clarified that the inheritance was mine by right, denying him any claim due to the divorce, which was a consequence of his infidelity. He attempted to argue, suggesting the issue was not infidelity, but rather a disparity in personalities, claiming it was I who desired the divorce. I countered, astounded by his lack of awareness, explaining that the guilty party cannot initiate divorce proceedings simply based on who files first. His actions were the root cause. The other woman, taken aback, hastily exited, causing a scene, although my lawyer reassured me, knowing her place of employment posed no issue. As we prepared to leave, my ex-husband started lamenting about his new partner's changed behavior post-affair, criticizing her culinary skills and demanding nature, contrasting her with me. He then begged for a second chance, admitting he always compared her unfavorably to me. But the realization and comparison were too late. His appeals for reconciliation were in vain. I was utterly shocked and stated, "It's inconceivable. I have lost all trust in you," as he desperately pleaded for another opportunity. Reflecting back, from the moment my father was in danger until his passing, you never paid a visit. You were entangled in an affair, neglecting my anguish during the difficult period following my father's demise. Your only concern appeared to be the inheritance. I noticed you frequently checking my bank account, presumably plotting to abscond with the funds once the inheritance was deposited. Observing my ex-husband's shaken demeanor, I realized he assumed reconciling would spare him from the financial obligations of property division. He remained mute, overcome by shame. Asserting there was nothing more to discuss, I prepared to leave. He broke down, claiming, "You are everything to me. Please let's begin anew." I sternly replied, "Stop. It's humiliating. You've just remarried. Resolve your issues with her." Dismissing his pleas, he revealed, "She only married me for my wealth. She's betraying me," as he sobbed helplessly. Ignoring his tears, I settled the bill, and my attorney and I exited the cafe. To resolve the ongoing issues, I reached out to my former in-laws, a first since expressing gratitude for their presence at my father's funeral. They were astounded to learn about the divorce and subsequent remarriage from me instead of their son. However, the following day, led by my ex-father-in-law and accompanied by his brother, they confronted my ex-husband. His uncle, whom he never liked, ensured the division of assets was settled. They resolved to send him back to the countryside, placing him under their watch. He was to work in a family-owned factory to fulfill the financial commitments agreed upon by my ex-in-laws, now elderly and without a stable income. Regarding the other woman, she initiated divorce proceedings against my ex-husband independently. Contacting her employer, I spoke with the manager, who unveiled a startling revelation. The woman was suspected of having an affair with the manager's own husband. Asserting her intentions to take legal action, she assured me they wouldn't escape consequences. True to her promise, I later received condolence money. Visiting her business to thank her, I discovered the other woman was absent, now juggling multiple jobs to settle the financial obligations from her divorce, one of which was at a nearby construction site. Driven by curiosity, I observed her, no longer adorned in makeup, exhausted, and being reprimanded as she labored. Clearly, she faced considerable financial strain, a direct outcome of her disruptive actions. Upon disclosing the divorce to my son, he expressed surprise but reassured me, advising, "It's your life, Mom. Pursue what brings you joy." This brought me comfort. I am committed to cherishing each day, resolved to live my life to its fullest.